I really wanted to not do was put students in a situation where they would feel like they didn't have what it takes to be a musician. I'm a firm believer that there's no such thing as people who can't play music. Now, music is not for everybody. Not everybody has to play. You can just enjoy music and on your radio, and that's perfectly acceptable. But if somebody wants to play music, I don't feel like there is a such thing as somebody who is incapable of playing. In fact, scientists, there's tons and tons of studies over the years, and one of the things that they've seen is that people who when they're learning to speak a language, and that's not just a foreign language, but actually even their primary, like their mother tongue, are using the same area of their brain as people who are learning to play music, and that's referred to as the neurolingual pathways. And so if we can learn to speak a language, i.e. English, if we can speak that, or even multiple languages like many of us do, then we can play music. I really wanted my kids and other people's children to have that experience that I had at 11 years old. You'll hear me refer to that a lot because that was pivotal for me. You know what? In our area, there's some great schools. There's some fantastic teachers. Oftentimes folks can get, great lessons at these other places. But one thing I felt wasn't really happening was this like deliberate pairing of teachers with students. And I felt something that we could do really well. It's something that for me is, it's not very hard for me. It's kind of an intuitive thing that usually works out pretty well. And so I felt like that was something I could do, number one. But number two, I also felt like there was an opportunity that wasn't being met in the market, which is to do lessons in students' homes. We have people can go online and look on Craigslist or look in the paper or whatever and find teachers who are willing to come to their home, but you're never quite sure what you're going to get. Number one, and most often this is not the case, but you don't know if you're going to get somebody who's unsafe in a situation like that. And again, most of the time that's not the case, but sometimes you can't be sure. For one, you can get somebody who's safe. Number two, you don't know, like a lot of parents haven't, maybe they didn't take music lessons themselves, or they don't feel like they're unsure as to the criteria for choosing a teacher. And so they don't know if this teacher is like somebody who's really good at teaching, number one, if they're skilled at music, number two, they're not sure how to assess that. And so what we've done is we've taken a very restrictive hiring process. In the last 2.5 years, I've interviewed 350 teachers and hired 18 of them. So less than like 1 out of every 22 that interview, and that's not even talking about resumes that I just ignore. That I feel like are not a fit. And so we've taken that very restrictive process. Myself and the other folks here at Resound, taking our music knowledge, taking our understanding of people and what makes a good teacher, culling those down to the best possible teachers, and then matching them specifically with a student in the students' homes. I felt like that was a very powerful combination, and so that's what we were hoping to accomplish by starting school. I'm looking for, like, at number one, I'm looking at my experience as a teenager with those teachers that really inspired me. And that's really my paradigm, because I see that took me from a kid who didn't like music or didn't think that music was something I was capable of to somebody who now considers music kind of a part of who I am. It's a part of my identity. And so I'm looking for three main things when I'm hiring teachers. Number one, I'm looking for teachers who are have the ability to inspire. Teaching is so much about that kind of that getting on the ground with a student and pointing them to something great and really inspiring them to accomplish that. And so I'm looking for, when I'm interviewing teachers, I'm looking for, do they inspire me? We actually have a 3-stage interview process where where they come in and we just have a meeting. We spend about an hour chatting about their background. I look to see culturally if they're fit with the school. But then we have a 2-stage teaching interview process where they actually come in, they teach a beginner student, and I look to see, can they inspire that student? Does that student leave excited and like they really want to continue with music? And then also they interview me. They teach me as as an intermediate student on whatever instrument that is. And I'm sorry, they teach me. I'm not sure if I said that. They teach me as an intermediate student, and then I'm looking to see, are they able to inspire me as a student? So number one, I'm looking at inspiration. Number two, I'm looking for people who feel called to teach, not just play music. Playing music is like a really important thing. They've got to be good musicians. Obviously, they have to be skilled at their instruments. But teaching and doing are two different skill sets. And the teachers have to be able to do both of those things. And that's people that don't know how to teach. A lot of people think that they do and they don't. And again, it's something that you can learn, but I'm looking for people who are really skilled at being able to communicate musical ideas just the way that they understand. And again, that's why we have our interview process. And so those are the first two things. And the third thing kind of goes with that, which is I'm looking for somebody who's got like an empathetic spirit, so that they can really reach out and relate to the students, and are willing to go where the students are at. And that's a little bit harder to quantify, but it's something that I'm definitely looking for in the interview process. We have these we have this assessment process where either myself or another person will come over to the student's home, meet with the student, and we try just to get to know their personality. What are they like? What are their musical interests? What are their hobbies? What is the family culture? What are the goals of both the students and the parents in relationship to music? And then based on that, we try to match them with the teacher that's most suited to them. And what I hope happens and does happen most of the time is that the student gets a teacher that's very similar to that second piano teacher I had and that drum teacher I had, which relate really, really well with the student. They create a relationship that's meaningful for the student. They are, I'm very picky in who I hire as teachers, so they are people who genuinely care about their students. So, but there's a natural relationship. They care about the students. And as well, because of the match in musical interests and where the students want to go, there's usually a sense of inspiration that comes from the teachers as well. And as far as I know, I don't think there's any other schools that take this approach to matching students with their with teachers.